Hi guys, I'm Anissa and I'm back with another video, and I wanted to do another video today since I was in a filming spree. And the video that I wanted to share with you is my sort of TBR for my Scandinavian lit. As you may or may not know, one of my goals for this year is to increase my Scandinavian authors on my reading list. I currently have only read very few authors that are from Denmark or other parts of Scandinavia, and I'm feeling slightly bad about that since I am from Denmark and I should be reading more books from those sort of authors. And I know there's a lot of great books out there. It's just because when I think about Scandinavian lit, I always think about thrillers, not like detective thrillers and all of that, and I've just had enough of those type of books. So what I wanted to do was to find books that was not really part of that. I've read the authors that I've read from so far has been obviously Jussi Olsen is one of my favorites. He does write detective thrillers, but I feel like they're very different than the other detective thrillers that I've been reading. They're very because of what Karl Marx has been through. It's a lot of very psychological as well, because he has a lot of things he's going through personally, and also there's also something with some of the other parts of the detective crew that are really interesting characters to get to know more of over the books that goes along. And I also like cold cases, so it's slightly different than the regular crime mystery. This series currently has 7 books in it, and I've read the first 6, so I've really enjoyed them. And the other authors that I've read from that are from Scandinavia are Maj Ljungstedt. I read Unseen. I didn't really care for that book. I gave it 3 stars. And then I read Ice Princess by Camilla Läckberg, which is the first book in the Patrick Hillström book, which I also gave 3 or 4 stars. I think I gave it that 4 stars. I actually liked it, but I'm not in the mood to read on in that, because I feel like it's the same all the time, but it was a good thriller. And then I remember having been read to me books by Dennis Jørgensen. Either that or it was Bjarne Reuter who wrote Us to Oscar for Evigt, or The Two of Us, Oscar Forever, which is a children's book, and it's about this boy who finds a lion in the foot of his bed, and it's really good. And I want to reread it sometime soon, because it's just a book that I remember really loving when I was growing up. But I don't remember if it was Bjarne Reuter or it was Dennis Jørgensen who wrote that book currently. But let's get into my TBR. I have written down 25 different books that I want to check out. Some of these authors have multiple books out, so if I like this particular book, then I could check out more books by the authors, either next in the series or something like that. And some of them are known, some of them are not very known, and I'll put the translated cover here if it has been translated to English. Otherwise, I'll just put the Danish cover, and I'm sorry if you want to read it and you can't. But yeah, that's life. Also, this video will have a lot of Danish in it, because obviously the titles are in Danish, and I'll try to translate them so you understand what they mean. Anyway, the first book that I wrote down was Vejen til Pantheon by Boris Hansen. This is translated, it is called The Road to Pantheon, and it's part of a Pantheon saga. I don't think this has been translated. It doesn't have very many reviews. I think he's a pretty new author, but I'm able to get this from the library. Actually, all of the books I've mentioned I am able to get from the library, and that's sort of the books that I want to get from the library this year for the most part. I'll at least try to have one of these books in my library halls whenever I get around to the library again. The second book I put down was Opvågning by Maj Johansen. Translated, it's called Awakening. This is, if I remember correctly, something about this blurb just says, imagine yourself waking up in someone else's body, and I think that sounds pretty intriguing. And I don't think it's been translated, as I said, but I think it sounds really interesting, and I can't wait to get to it. And book number 3 I put down is Mørkets Søn by Jeanette Hedengren, and this is called The Son of Darkness, The Son of the Dark. whatever. And this is about how there's some people ruling over the nighttime of this world, and then there's some people ruling over the daytime, and they don't particularly like each other, the dark people and the light people. And so then there's like the heirs to the both of the thrones, they sort of meet, which they're not supposed to, but they meet and they go on from there on some sort of trying to figure out what to do about that. I don't know much about the books that I'm going into, but it sounds like it's an interesting high fantasy sort of thing, and that's something I always enjoy. The next book I put down is Morica Rent Blod by Sissel Sander Mittet. This is called Morica Clean Blood. And I don't remember exactly what this is about, but I think it's something to do with being like if she's pure magical or not, something like that. But I'm not sure. I don't remember. The fifth book that I put down is Nymphana Blodets Farve by Julie Christine Knudsen, which is Nymphana, Color of the Blood, which I think has something to do, I don't know, but it might have something to do with mythology. I'm not sure about that. And then I put down En mand der hedder Ove by Fredrik Backman. Actually, I'd like to know this because I don't know if, so Linnea, if you're watching this, how do you say Fredrik in Swedish? Do you say Fredrik like we do, or do you say Fredrik? I actually don't know that. So please let me know in the comments if you're watching this. Okay, so yeah, but this is a man called Ove by Fredrik Backman. I need to read this. He's one of the most famous Swedish authors currently and has a lot of books out, and this seems like they could be something that I enjoy. The next one I put down is Ulf og Tordengudens Sværd by Sofie Svärds Knudsen, which translated is Wolf and the God of Thunder's Sword, which I definitely think has something to do with the Norse mythology. Otherwise, I don't understand why they would put like a Thor reference in that title. Anyway, I always like Norse mythology, and coming from a Scandinavian author is probably more correct than Marvel, so... And please don't think I don't like the Marvel universe at all. I actually watched the last Thor movie yesterday, and it's a good fun, it's pretty entertaining, but Thor is just not at all how I've always brought up thinking he was going to look like. I mean, seriously? No. The next one I have is actually a graphic novel, and it's a graphic novel. I think I read a lot of them when I was a kid, but I don't remember them very well. And they're called, the first one is called Ulven er løs by Peter Madsen, and The Wolf is on the Loose is the title, and it's the first book in the Valhalla comic series, which follows this boy called Quark, who is one of Loki's sons, I think, and he's a bit of a trickster as well. So it's a lot. It is a good fun. If I remember correctly, that's what they are about. So I can't wait to get back into them. Book number 9 I put down is Sabers Udsendinge Ni drog de ud by Kåre Bluigten. This is an adult high fantasy. The other books that I've talked about have been more or less young adult or middle grade or something like that. But the translated title would probably be Sabers Chosen. First there were 9 or something. It's probably not exactly that, because it's like they were 9 when they first took off on their quest, and maybe there are only 1 left now, I don't know. But this is apparently an old sort of fantasy book, I think. So it might have been translated. I'll try to see if I can find a translated cover. If not, you'll see the Danish cover. Book number 10 that I put down is Dværgene by Jakob Hedegaard Pedersen, which is translated called The Dwarfs. And I think, yeah, dwarves are always pretty interesting type of people in the fantasy world. Then I have Dystopia by Dennis Jørgensen. This is a zombie apocalyptic novel, I think. I'm not sure about this, but that's what I think. And Dennis Jørgensen is definitely one of those who writes really dark fantasy, so I'm interested in seeing what his books are like. Then I put down Odins Child by Siri Pettersen. I already lent that out earlier, but I never got around to it, and someone put a hold on it, so reserved it at the library, so I had to hand it back in, so we'll see if I can get to it eventually. But this is also sort of a Norse mythology take, and I heard some people say it's really good, and it hasn't been translated yet, but I think it's about to be translated, so definitely be on the lookout for that if I end up enjoying it. And obviously the English title is Odins Child. Book number 13 that I put down is Ravnens Hvisken by Maria Sølsten, which translated to English is The Whispers of the Raven. And I think this is also some Norse mythology, I'm not sure, but that's what I'm thinking when they choose the ravens, because that was Odin's choice of animals, birds. Book number 14 that I put down is Maresi by Maria Turchanianov. This is so horribly said, and this is a Finnish author. I'm sorry, this was bad. Anyway, I'm really interested in this one. I don't know what it's about at all, but it looks really interesting, and yeah. I don't know if this has been translated. I would leave a cover of it. I think it has been, because I actually think it's one of those very popular Finnish fantasy books. Then I put down Dæmonernes Hvisken by Josephine Ottesen, or The Whispers of the Demons. Josephine Ottesen is one of the most famous Danish fantasy authors, I think, together with Lene Kaaberbøl. And so obviously I had to put down one of her books to check out what she's like as an author. It might not be that she's the best one, but it's nice to know what everyone else has read as well. And book number 16 I put down is The Shamer's Daughter by Lene Kaaberbøl, or Skammerensdatter is the Danish title. And this is the Queen of Fantasy in Denmark, basically. I think she's known as that. She has a quartet of the Shamers. This is the Shamers quartet. And then she has also another series that's called Vildheks, or Wild Witch, which I don't know if it's for a younger audience than the other ones, but yeah. The 17th book that I put down was Natvævn by A. Rune. I don't know what his actual name is, the initial what it stands for, but the translated title is The Night Dwarf. And I don't know, obviously, what that's about. And book number 18 I put down is Selfies by Jussi Adler-Olsen, or here is the translated title. I'm the only one, except one of my sisters has not read it, and my brother, I think. Both my parents and my other sister has read it, and they all really enjoyed it, and it's the 7th book in the Department Q series, so I need to get to it, so it's an easy choice to put on this list because I want to read it. Then I put down Memorandum by Anders de la Motte, which I think is a literary fiction. I'm not sure about this. And this is a Swedish author, and I don't know what it's about. Then I put down Smilla's Sense of Snow, or Miss Smilla's Feelings for Snow by Peter Høeg, who is also a Danish author. And I think that this follows this girl who's a woman. I don't know how old she is, but she's from Greenland and she's living in Denmark, in Copenhagen. And one day she she hears something strange, and it's one of her neighbors. She falls down from the roof and is killed from that. And the police thinks it's suicide, but she believes that it's not suicide. So she goes on to try and investigate and find out what it's actually about. So I'm really interested in this. I have heard very great things about this book, but I don't know exactly what to expect of it. It's one of the most famous Danish books over the recent years, I think. So I'm really interested in figuring out what it is about. I know he has a couple of other books out as well, so. Book number 21 I put down is We the Drowned, which is by Carsten Jensen, and I don't know anything about this book, except I think it's something about sailing. It's a historical fiction, I think, as well. and it was very high up on the Scandinavian literature list. And I was like, I didn't even know that it was a Danish one. I have heard about this before, so what? I've been living under a rock or something, so I'm definitely going to be reading that. Book number 23 that I put down was 7 Gothic Tales by Isak Dinesen. It was like, but did Karen Blixen also write this? What is the deal with this? So it took me forever before I saw that Out of Africa was on the list under Isak Dinesen. I was like, wait, Out of Africa is definitely Karen Blixen. So that's when I found out that Karen Blixen's pseudonym name was Isak Dinesen. So yeah, but these are 7 Gothic tales, and Gothic tales are always really interesting, and I would like to check out Karen Blixen. I don't know if I'll be reading that book Out of Africa, but those 7 Gothic tales sounds interesting, so we'll see how I feel about them once I get to them. And then book number 24 I put down was Onescape by Jan Guillou, which translated is probably just like the evil, Onescape is just like evil, evilness. So I don't know what the translated title is, but I know he's probably had some of his titles translated, and I'll try and find the cover here so you can see it. And the 25th and final book that I put on this list was The Library of Shadows by Mikkel Birkegaard, which I think is I like books that are about books and libraries, obviously, so I wanted to check this out. And I noticed this from Missy from Binge Reader when she was talking about this book. I was like, wait, that author's name, that sounds super Danish. And that's how I found out about him. So these were all of the books that I put down on my TBR for the Scandinavian literature I want to read eventually. Let me know in the comments down below if you've read any of the books, and if there's some of them you think I should start out with. Are there any of them you find more interesting than others and you'd like me to review on my channel when I get to it? Definitely also let me know about that. It will probably be difficult if it's one of those that are not translated, but I'll definitely consider doing it for anyone if they want to know what I feel about him. But yeah, this was all I have for you today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very, very soon. Goodbye!